Hello, welcome back. And in this video, we're going to talk about how to make a randomizer button and also a add to favorites button. So how that's going to work is, for example, if you press, I made the randomizer as a question mark. So if you press this, what it does is it randomly scrolls through your list of images and the name of the band here. So this is supposed to be random. It's not in any particular order. The add to favorites button, what it does is if you press it, just say I want to add BTS to my favorites list. My favorites list is this blue box here. Let's say you want to add another band. And let's see, okay, let's add SES. And it just keeps adding to the favorites list. So how we do that, let's go to the coding. And we're just continuing from the app that we're trying to make last time. If you haven't seen the other two videos about how to set all this up, please take a look at it. If not, you just want to learn about randomizing and also making the favorites button, you've come to the right place. So the first thing we do is we have to actually put the buttons into the interface. So let's go on to design and then just a note, you don't actually have to use like a button they provide. You know, if you don't like how it looks, you can actually make a lot of things buttons. Okay. It can be an image. So actually let's use the image as a button. We're going to turn this, it's actually an image placeholder, but we can make it into a button. And I'll just show you how. So we'll make this like the favorites button. So you just drag out image, put it onto the interface. And like I said before, make sure you name the ID something that makes sense. So I would call this add faves button, because it's, if you press it, it's supposed to add the band to your favorites list. So add faves button. And if you mouse over it, the ID changes to what you just renamed it. Let's add a randomizer button. And I'm just going to change the size. Maybe I'll put it here. You can put it wherever you want on the screen. It's okay. I'm just going to put it here. Maybe I'll put this up here just to kind of make everything in line. That's like neat. Then let's change the ID. This is the randomizer, so I would just call it randomizer button. Mouse over it. Just make sure that it's the same ID that you just entered. Okay, right now doesn't look that great. These buttons look exactly the same. So let's change how it looks. So let's click and select the add favorites button. And if you look down the options, you can actually, under image here, right? You can actually change how this looks by applying an image. So let's go to this image section. Let's click on choose. And you can actually upload an image that you want. We're not going to do that. You can actually link an image to an image that you want. Let's not do that. And I want to use icons this time. Usually I think for favorites you add some sort of heart. So I would choose like a heart icon. Right? If you choose that, it pops up. If you don't like the black and white kind of theme, you can actually change it. So icon color, you can actually change the color. Just click on the, I guess, the color selector. Maybe you want to make it like pinkish. Let's choose somewhere here in the spectrum. Oh, that looks nice. And do you see it? The icon color changes. So we'll just leave it at that. That looks good. Then let's change the randomizer. So do the same thing under image. You choose, let's choose an icon because it's pre-made. It's easy. You don't have to like search around. Let's do like a question mark because it's kind of like randomized. You don't know what you're going to get. So here you go, question mark. Let's change the color to something. I like blue, sky blue. Click into the color selector, okay? Make sure it changes color, that's great. So now you have the two buttons. Let's actually start to program what they do, okay? So like the other videos, when you made all these other buttons, you have to program the functionality of it, okay? So let's start with the randomizer button. So you're gonna say whenever a user clicks on this button, it's gonna do something. Do you remember how you do that? You have to use an event handler. So you go to UI controls, on event, and we're just gonna put it like at the bottom here. And I want to make some spaces, so click on show text. Let's make a few spaces, you know, just space everything out. Go back to show blocks because you want to drag out the blocks. So let's drag out the on event. I guess it doesn't let you. Maybe drag it out first and then do the space. Let's go back to blocks. Okay, so you have this event handler, and we're going to make it for the randomizer. So ID, you have to choose the ID of the randomizer button, which I named randomizer button. So let's choose that. So on the click, when you click, something happens. So this is how you randomize. Go to variables. You're going to change the index. You're going to make it do something. Now remember from last video, the index is, it's like a counter. It basically keeps track of all your items in a list by assigning each item a number. And do you remember the first item always starts with 0 and it goes forward like 0, 1. The second item is going to be 1 and so forth. For example, like let's go back to the example here. So, you know, we have a list of K-pop group names, BTS, the Seraphim, New Jeans, and Stray Kids. The first item is going to be index 0. Second item is going to be denoted by index 1. Third item by index 2. Fourth item by index 3. And if there is a fifth item, it's going to be index 4, and so on. I think you understand. So what we're going to do is, for the randomizer, what it's going to, because usually the index, it goes in sequence, right? It usually goes from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, right? In sequence. But the randomizer, what it does is, you could probably guess, it randomizes the sequence. So you can, if you press the button, maybe it will suddenly show in the thing in index 1, which is, in this list is the Seraphim. It could suddenly go to like 3. It can start at 0. You know, it's all random, right? So it's not going to be in sequence. So this is how you do it. Let's go back to the coding screen. So index is going to equal, because we're going to change it to do something. Let's go to math. There's a pre-built kind of function. If you click on math, it's the orange under the toolbox. And it is called random number. So let's drag it out and drop it in. There are two numbers in the, I guess, the argument. And this is a range. Okay, these numbers, it depends on what it is. But for us, we're going to put in the index number. Okay, because we want to choose randomly from index 0, which is the first item, until the last one. In this case, well, in this list, it's going to be index 3. Okay, so that's the range. We're using the whole list. Okay. So let's say we're going to choose randomly between 0, which is the first item, index 0. And how do you denote the last item? You can do it two ways. You can just put, if you know the index of the last item, well, if you look at our project, it's gonna be 4 because it's gonna be black pink. It's gonna be index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh wait, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? It's gonna be 4. But you could do that, but let's do a smart way. Do you remember the length dot length minus 1? Let's do that. Okay. So we're randomizing from the names list, the names of the bands. Okay. So we're gonna put names dot length minus 1. Do you remember dot length minus 1 is basically saying however long the list is, it's going to be the last item. Okay. So let's do an example here. I'm going to add the black pink because I didn't. Let's actually add it here. Let's go into elements. I'm going to drag this out here. And let's add actually, let's copy this. Black pink. Because, I want to make it like the same. And let's name this names, okay? Just to keep it consistent with the list we actually have in our program, which you can see up here, variable names. That's going to be the names of the list. So I'm going to just make it the same, keep it consistent. And this is going to be, the length is going to be 5. That's, I'm just going to write it in because it's take too long to type. Oh, that's not it. 5. Let's try again. So this is going to be the 5th element. So now we have BTS, that's 1, Le Seraphim 2, New Jeans 3, Stray Kids 4, and Blackpink 5. This is the length button. This is not the index, okay? Let's write the index number on the bottom. Right? So then it's going to be index 1 for the first item, 2 for second. 1 for second, 2 for the third, index 3 for the fourth, index 4 for the 5th item. So let's go back to that statement, okay? The names.length. I'm going to actually just copy it and type it in and try to explain it to you. I think it'll be useful just to look at it. Okay, because you have to understand the concept behind this, okay? Very important. Let's put the text. Let's add a text box and let's put this in. Boom. Okay. Make it big so you can see it. All right. Can you let me move? Okay, here we go. So let's talk about this name's length. I'm going to use red. Let's make it like a little thinner. Okay, there you go. It's not that thin. Okay, so how does this equal the last item here? Well, let's do a very simple calculation. Names.length, that means the length of the names list. And we already determined the length is 5 because there are 5 items in the list. And minus 1, so that's going to be 5 minus 1. That would be equal to 4. Now this 4 number is going to be talking about what? The index. So can you see this always means the last item. Okay. In essence, it's like the last index. It's the index number of the last item, basically. In this case, it's the black pink, right? It's index 4, which is basically length, which is 5 minus 1. Okay, so anyway, if it's too hard to understand, I mean, just memorize it. Just like names, whatever name, the list name dot length minus 1 is always going to be referring to the last item on a list. Okay, so let's go back. And so let's analyze this again. So random number pre-built, there's going to be a range. It's going to be from 0, which is the first item, and it's going to randomize between 0 and names.length minus 1, which is the last item. Which makes sense because you want to have all possibilities. All items on the list can be randomized. Okay. And the next part is after you click on the randomize button, you want to update the screen so that it shows randomly, okay, this. So I'm going to copy this and let's put it down here underneath the index equals. And let's try it. Let's run it. It should work. So if you press the randomizer button, there you go. It's just showing like, yeah, random indexed items because of this random number and range. Okay, so that's working. Okay, last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna program the favorites button. So how that's gonna work is, once again, you want to control what happens when somebody presses this button. So you have to use the event handler. So let's drag one out from UI controls. I'm going to do a little space again. Make sure you have it set to right ID, which is add favorites button. That's what we have determined before. Actually, let's reset. Whenever you're writing in new code, the program shouldn't be running. Just like if it's running, just press the reset button. That means that it's going to apply the new code you put in. So how do you add favorites? Okay. Oh, here's another thing. You have to have a box to show like the favorite bands you added to show the list. So let's actually go back to design and let's add like another text area. It's kind of big. Let's make it like a little bit longer than the normal text area. And once again, let's name the ID something that makes sense. So favorites list text, I'm going to say. Let's make it a different color than the actual, like the name of underneath the image. Okay, so let's do background color. Let's change it to like purple. And since the background color is going to be purple, let's change the text color to like something to like white. So then it kind of shows up. There's a contrast. Good enough. So then when the text shows up here, it's going to show up nice. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So here's where the text is going to be shown for the favorites. Okay, let's go back to code. And let's program this button here. This is what you're going to do. You're gonna actually have to make like another list. So you got to go back to the top. Do you see where all your lists are? You're gonna add like a new one. This one's gonna be your favorites list because if you press this button, it's supposed to make kind of like a new list of things. Okay, so you got to make a new list for that. So let's drag out, let's go to variables, the purple, and then var x equals something. Let's put it under the other list that we made. Let's call it favorites list. And you're going to make this pure text. And you're going to add to this, okay? So you have to put the two quotations. Okay, you have to do that, okay? Because you're going to add some text. So like once you press this button, it's going to pull the text from this box and it's going to put it in the favorites text box, okay? That's what's going to happen, basically. So how do you do that? So make sure you have this var favorites list equals quotes. So it's empty because you don't want anything in here until you add by pressing the button. So let's make it empty. Remember what's called, okay? Favorites list. Actually, let's copy it because we have to use it in the bottom there. So select it all and then Control C to copy. Then we're going to say, go back to variables toolbox. We're going to do the third one. We're going to say x equals something, but we're going to put in favorites list equals. Okay, this is when it gets tricky, all right? You got to look very carefully. We got to type this in, and there's a lot of like kind of weird stuff like brackets and things. So I don't know why this underscore's here. I'm going to get rid of it. We don't need it. Okay, so inside brackets, okay, like your normal, I think it's like number 9 and numbers, it's 0. If you shift, you're going to have these, okay? Can I make this bigger? Let's see. All right, let's make it a little bigger so you can see. So inside, we're going to type favorites list, which we just made. And it's going to equal, it's going to be plus, okay, space plus space, and then quotations again. And we're going to say \n. I'll tell you what this does in a minute. Let me just type all this out. And then that's going to be outside the brackets, going to do add names, square brackets, index. Okay, and then make sure you have all this stuff, okay, exact. And the line has to be, it's going to end with the semicolon. Okay, you notice that every time, most of the time there's an end of line, there's semicolon, so don't forget those. If you don't put it in, the program's not going to run. Let's go back to block view. So what this does is whatever name that you pull from here, it's going to be put in the favorites list. It's going to be the name plus a new line. So the \n means you're making a new line. So the next favorites, if you favorite, the name is gonna go underneath the first name. And where are we pulling this from? We're pulling it from wherever the index is gonna be in the list names. So that's why you have names, square bracket, index. So what that means is, say on your screen, you've scrolled to index 2 of the list called names. Index 2 is going to be new genes. Okay, that refers to new genes. So new genes is going to show up in the favorites list. If you favorited it this one, right? And if you favorited like index 3, Stray Kids is going to show up. You favorite index 4, it's going to be Blackpink. Whatever, okay? That just means wherever you are in the names list, and if you favorite, it's going to show up here, okay? we need to tell the program to actually put the text in here. So we need to go to UI controls and we need to set text. Okay, that's one step. Kind of forgot. It's okay. Set text, drag it out, put it underneath the favorites list. And you're going to put it in this this place. So that's the favorites list text. Okay, so make sure the ID is set to here because you're going to show it here. And what you're going to show, you're going to show the favorites list that you just programmed. So you just type it in. And you have designated that favorites list is going to equal to all this stuff. You're just going to pull it from the names index. Okay. The names list. Okay, it should work. Let's try. Okay, there you go. See, if you press it, because you're on BTS, it just basically transfers BTS this text into like a new list called favorites list. And then it's going to be put into the favorites list text with the box, which is here. Let's try some more. Let's Stray Kids. Blackpink. Boom. Okay. And that's it for adding the favorites button.